Welcome to the Reverse Mullet Healthcare Podcast by BP2 Health. We are here at ACLM Conference in Orlando, 2024. I'm Justin Politi.
I'm Dave Pavlik.
I'm Ellen Brown. And I know it's hard for those of you watching live or the recorded video version that Justin's hard to recognize because he has sunglasses and the mullet wig on. So if you didn't recognize Justin, it's the real Justin. But
The real deal.
yeah, but we're here with a special guest. So tell us about yourself.
Hey everyone, this is Dr. Joseph Antoun. Thanks for having me here today.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Hopefully we're going to change somebody's life. I always wish that in my podcast.
Well, so I'm super pumped that you're here. See, Dave and Justin don't even know. I'm always pulling stuff out. But in my journey of learning, really deeply about health at a different level, Walter Longo's work was very instrumental. It's sort of, it was like the Zach Bush on the soil side and Walter on the longevity side. And, it was like this whole sort of trifecta, Rich Roll with all of his podcast guests. And
There's a lot of inside baseball going on that
there
side
is
of the table.
Yeah. It's my job. But, and so, a number, in fact, I'll take a picture and I'll send it to my girlfriend. So a number of my friends have utilized ProLon, and I want to hear about your new product today, but have used ProLon for health reasons, not to try to lose weight, but truly for cellular restoration and autophagy and all the things that ProLon does. And so I feel like I have like a legend in here talking to you live at the Lifestyle Medicine Conference. So
I feel useless because you know it better than I do.
No. I wanted to share that because I think sometimes when somebody comes on the podcast and talks about a product or an intervention, sometimes immediately people are like, oh, it's something somebody's trying to tell me, but you guys really are a pioneer in a different type of intervention than most.
No, thank you very much. And I did promise we're going to change somebody's life, and we will through this next 20 minutes. We're going to talk about this. Quick introduction. My name is Joseph Antoun. I'm an MD PhD. I wanted to cure patients. This is why I went to med school. And then I discovered, like most of you probably learned at some point, that we're taught to give a lot of pills. We practice sick care because we meet people after they're sick, right? Not before. And then we give them a bunch of 4 or 5 pills. And I used to tease my attending. I would say, hey, what is the expiry date of the prescription? I used to tease them at the hospital at Lejeune. It's like, there's no expiry date. Like, they have to refill it every month. They say, yeah, for the rest of their lives, yes. And maybe we're going to add to this, right? And so I rebelled against that system. I went into, first, I thought I'll do prevention. So I did health policy and public health. And figure out that most people know already prevention. They should eat healthy, exercise. There was no new news, as we say. And you're always competing with the product, right? Should I go to the gym or should I sit in front of Netflix? Should I eat a plant-based or this burger looks good, right? So
choices.
It's choices, but the product is the bad product and it's against choices. And I was like, why don't we come up with a product that is healthy, that is preventative, that is going to help people and compete product to product? And so I looked for what people do every day. And it's food, eat every day of their life, 3 to 5 times. And we decided to turn food as an asset of longevity because we know people will comply. They eat food every day, the day they're born to the day they die. It's unfortunate that this multi-trillion dollar industry is governed by marketing and by theories and not true science. So we gathered a team of scientists. Our founder, you mentioned his name, Dr. Walter Longo, is probably the leading expert in longevity around the world. We gathered 18 universities behind us, Harvard, USC, Stanford, Mayo Clinic, and we started developing food formulations as we develop drugs, mice trials and then human trials, in order to prove what we have that is going to bring food as longevity and food as medicine. So after 23 years of research, we have developed 2 platforms of nutrition technologies. These technologies are essential for longevity or for medicine. And the main one, and you mentioned the name ProLon, our main discovery is what we call a fasting-mimicking nutrition, a 5-day food that we give to you. It's a very precise formulation that we ship at your house. You open the box, there's 5 days of food. You eat it over 5 days, your body doesn't know you're eating. So it's called a fasting-mimicking nutrition.
Oh, but you do know it when you do it.
Yes, you do
I
feel
will get
it.
text from somebody and go, I'm on day 3 of ProLon.
Yes, you're gonna feel it. And the concept is when the body thinks you're not eating, of course you're losing a lot of weight, which a lot of people love, but that's not the main concept. The main concept is the body on the first 2 days has a lot of reserve fat and glycogen, and you consume those, right? It's like if you run a company, you don't have funding, you go to your bank and you use your savings and checking account. When you consume your bank account, so you're on day 3 of fasting, and you're in a crisis. Say you have a company and you spend your money. You're in a crisis mode. You go and you restructure the company. You start fixing. It's like, okay, I'm not doing well because my sales department, my marketing department, my supply chain. So the body on day 3 tells the cells, we're in a crisis. You got to fix yourself. Every cell goes through this process called cellular rejuvenation. In science, we call it autophagy. Self-eat, self-rejuvenate. And it won the Nobel Prize in Medicine in 2016. So it's a big, big thing now. It's just, we know autophagy, what it does to the body, which is reverse the bioage, but we never had a product. So that process of autophagy, which again won that Nobel Prize in Medicine in 2016, is pushing every cell of the body to clean, detox, fix the inside, rejuvenate. And again, I always compare it to a company trying to restructure. Whatever is going wrong, we try to fix it. And for the first time now, we as humans, we have a technology in nutrition called ProLon, or the Fasting-Mimicking diet. This is the core technology that we sell to help you eat food for 5 days and benefit from the cellular rejuvenation. So why we want to rejuvenate cells? The goal is to really a little bit take your biological age backwards. We want you, and I always use this expression, we want you to be younger than your age. Why is that so? 90% of us will die out of 4 health conditions. They're all age-related: diabetes, type 2, Alzheimer's, cardiovascular, and cancer, right? You're not going to get Alzheimer's at age 20. You're going to get Alzheimer's, first heart attack at age 30, etc., etc. So the goal is to keep your cells younger than your age. And that's true prevention, because we're giving you hopefully extra, or the chance. We cannot promise people are going to live longer, but we're giving them best chances for their cells to stay younger than their age and a little bit away from the onset of chronic conditions. So that ProLon, for promoting longevity, is a consumer product. You buy it, you do it 3 times per year. You only need to do it 3 times per year. It's 5 days, 3 times per year. So you're only doing 15 times, 15 days per year. Anyone could do it at 365 days. We priced it exactly as the price of food for 5 days, so at $175. The average American food, beverage, and supplement spends around that number within 5 days. So it's a cost neutral. I really emphasize this because people should do ProLon 3 times per year. I haven't seen any product that can rejuvenate the cells, help you lose the weight, and help a lot of people. So that's the concept for longevity. The second concept, same fasting-mimicking technology. We said, okay, wait a second. So you're running a company, you now have no revenues, no funds, you're going to restructure, you're going to fix. If you know that I don't have revenues because my sales team is not doing a great job, you start fixing there, right? Right. So what we learned is that if you have diabetes, for example, if you have cancer, if you have Alzheimer's, the body is saying, okay, I know what's going wrong. Let me try to fix. And we started with diabetes. We've done a lot of trials on diabetes. And what we're saying is that patients taking the fasting mimicking diet within 6 months, so this is just 5 days a month, every month, because you have a health condition, you do it every month, once a month. Within 6 months, 2/3 of them are dropping 1 pill.
And it's ketosis. Like when you were talking about this, I was like, right, bingo, ketosis, right? One of the most effective insulin resistant reversal tools is ketosis, which ProLon does a beautiful job of putting you into ketosis. Anyway, I mean, so it's far more than that. You're like, please stop.
But what's the benefit for somebody not like me, and I'm not on the inside, but I've done intermittent fasting. What's the difference, in wide intervals? How is this better than doing it without consuming ProLon?
2 fantastic questions. Quickly answer the ketosis. The ketosis is the metabolic low carb stage. But again, there's a cellular rejuvenation.
Yes.
So diabetes has 3 root causes. And I love when you and I were chatting before, you said root cause, right? Why medicines fail in diabetes, or why even ketogenic diet. In the long term, they do fail in diabetes.
Yep.
Because they all treat one root cause, which is insulin resistance. High carb, high fat insulin resistance. But diabetes has 2 other root causes. The second one is muscle loss. Right? Because if you maintain high muscle, we're burning the carbs. Number 3, and very important, is aging. We, the 4 of us, maybe we had the same, actually maybe we're eating bigger volumes of food 15 years ago and we're skinnier, right? So aging is behind, if you eat bad at age 27,
Right.
you burn it.
Yeah.
If you eat bad at age 55, you
stays on a lot
it stays
longer.
on, right?
Yeah. There's a lot more grace in your 20s.
little
With,
tougher. Yeah.
So
Yes.
remember, blood sugar, insulin resistance, and fat. Drugs do that. GLP-1 do that. Ketosis do that. But they're not enough. There's muscle. Keep the muscle high to burn the carbs and age it. And this is why the fasting-mimicking diet is hitting all three of concepts. Rejuvenate the age of the cells. You're biologically younger. You're not 27 chronologically, but you're close to it biologically. So your cells can burn. Your muscle is active, and muscle protection. Your muscle protect with the fasting.
Yeah, absolutely. So
that's
then,
the big,
so now Justin's question about how this is different than just doing intermittent fasting.
So just so when you do intermittent fasting, say you're skipping breakfast and delaying a little bit your lunch. I don't know if you do the 16-hour or the 18-hour.
24-hour.
The 20, it has to be 23 and a half because you're eating.
Right, yeah.
That's a true fast.
Yes.
24.
Yep.
What you're
that
doing
range,
is called OMAD. OMAD, the 1 meal a day. Right?
Yep.
What you're doing.
Yep.
Which is very bad for longevity.
There you go.
But
And I'll tell
Changed
you
somebody's
why.
life already.
And I'll tell you why. No, we studied the first 13 years before we developed the fasting mimicking diet. We were a water fasting, so we studied the entire fasting science is coming from Walter Longo.
It is.
We started as water fast, so we were proponent, and then when it failed at some certain point, we developed the nutrition.
Gotcha.
It's actually the National Institute of Health that gave us funds to develop a fasting mimicking diet. It wasn't neither a business project or anything. We were studying fasting. So I'll tell you a little bit the trick. So when you wake up in the morning is when you're thinking, your brain needs the most calories because you're thinking you're going to work, you're walking, you're exercising if you go to the gym, etc. This the need to have calories. And with intermittent fasting, you're starving the body when the need is there. That's why in the afternoon you start feeling weak a little bit or dizzy, but you're starving the body when it doesn't need. Then you go and you eat evening time when you go back from work, right? And evening time when you eat, you're going after that to sleep, right? And when you sleep is the least need for calories. So what the body says is like, okay, I just got a bunch of calories. The brain is struggling. The kidneys, also the essential organs, have been struggling for 14 hours. And now I got calories. Let me stock them. Right? It's the concept of binge eating, and then I will stock them. I'm sleeping. I'm not burning them. So when you eat a lot in the evening time, say at 4, 5, 6, 7, your insulin spikes and your IGF spikes. So these are anabolic. And when you sleep, your anabolic means you're retaining what you eat. So you're giving the calories when the body is in storage mode rather than the body is in the catabolic and is spending mode. So what happens, you do it now. If you're starting by being very obese or carrying overweight, you have high blood sugar, it helps some people because it's still starving. It's starving what you don't want to starve, which is the essential organ, and it's feeding fat. But still, it's better than eating bad all day. So some people say,
or eating too much overall.
Yeah. So some people say, I do OMAD, I do 16 hours, it helped me. Of course, it's going to help you because if you're overweight or if you had a very bad diet, it will help. But what I'm trying to say is you got to do it in transition and then you got to move to a better state. Better state is eat in the morning, eat a light dinner, sleep on a little bit empty stomach. At night, you're not storing the extra fat. And when you wake up in the morning, you're catabolic, you're spending. Whatever you eat, you spend your little. When you sleep, the hormones of storage are up. So you're doing 12 to 14 hours intermittent fasting, but they actually start, we call it front-ended. They start at 7 p.m., don't eat after 7, and then eat the next day at 9. You did 14 hours, but you did it exactly when the body doesn't need the food and is trying to store on an empty stomach, doesn't store. And the next day, whatever you eat, you spend it. That's the better way of doing the intermittent.
So tell us, I have two questions. So one, the fast mimicking diet, the FMD, want to talk a little bit more about the science of that versus intermittent fasting, right? And I know you're hitting on that, but this idea, because to me, the reality, so like when you do ProLon, because I don't think you guys have done it before,
Nope.
Well, you talk about, I'm not going to steal a thunder, but you'll explain the product, but it is very much like you're getting little bursts of food throughout the day, and they're very specific in their dietary, contents to, again, put your body into a certain state of ketosis, but also to that cellular, to the autophagy, right? But what I was going to ask is tell us too, this new diabetic intervention that you all have created and launching, which is, I think, L-Nutra Health, right? Because I think everybody knows L-Nutra for ProLon, but now you've got L-Nutra Health. And I'm also wondering, I'm going to see how many many questions you can remember at once is, does that allow you to go from being just a consumer product to be a B2C through medical prescriptions? Right now, all of a sudden you can help people from a access. Cause right now, if you don't have the cash to pay $175 for ProLon, you don't get it. So does this also put you all in a position where now if you're getting a prescription for food, you can actually seek the L-Nutra Health version, all that? And you had a question.
Well, so I did the Peter Attia fasting app for a long time. I don't do it. Yeah, zero. I don't do it anymore. And I have a broader eating window now than I did when I, first started. So I've modified. But my question was, on that app, you can't get into ketosis at 14 hours. Like, you've got to go much longer. So
right, which is why it's 5 days.
Well, so I guess, how does that work? Like, getting into ketosis in the eating period of time, the window that you have.
And Peter left the app, and it actually changed his mind. I don't know.
It did. Yeah. That's a whole interesting story.
Yeah.
This is where we go, because he read our science, right? This is where we go back is we've had enough of books and theories. Just read the science, and the science is clear. And so I'm going to close the intermittent fasting question to close that chapter and go back to diabetes. So it's not to get to any ketosis, because you both are hitting on ketosis. There's a shallow ketosis that most people get into when you do intermittent fasting, when you do a ketogenic diet, right? But it's a shallow ketosis.
Right.
Fasting is a deep ketosis. And what you need to go deep to help the cells rejuvenate.
Exactly.
So the biggest difference between, to answer your questions, is if you skip a meal, you're not going to rejuvenate the cells. You're going to just say, okay, let's go back to the company example. You're like, okay, I need $1 million to operate my company. I need 2,000 calories to operate my body. You give me the check 4 hours late. I have some checking as account. So you're saying, okay, I have a little bit of fat. You can have a lot or a little bit, but you'll use a little bit of glycogen. You're done. You don't need to go, you don't get into crisis. So the big difference between a 5 days prolonged fasting versus the intermittent fasting is the crisis.
Gotcha.
ProLon induces a deep fast and a crisis so that the cells rejuvenate and heal, and hopefully give you a very good path to longevity. Intermittent fasting helps you on a short term to lose some weight, balance your metabolism, but then you got to do it right. You got to do the front end, stop dinner early, and then still have your breakfast. Breakfast is, there's a big battle. Breakfast and again, it's marketing dominating the breakfast, and there's many articles showing
it's not the most important meal of the day.
It is.
It is.
It is. So you should eat breakfast, but you should still do fasting. You're like, how am I going to do fasting? It's because it's dinner. Get your dinner early, 7 o'clock. Even if you eat your breakfast at 8, 9, or 10, you already did 14 hours of fasting. That's already incredible. This is the best. I always tell people that if you want to do something right for longevity, sleep a little bit hungry or sleep a little bit of that, which is the most difficult things to do in our life. Most people are obese, have 60 diets and counseling, and if you go deep, they're stress eating at night because they're finishing their work, because they're stressed and they're at work, because they're sitting in front of a movie with their significant other, and they're snacking.
It goes back to the whole concept of satiety. I think we just have completely lost touch with even talking about it. And when you introduce that concept, it's like, oh yeah, if I eat to feel satisfied, changes the game.
And when you eat late at night, because it matches our lifestyle and our stress and our staying late now with the movies and the work, they say, oh, it's easy for me to do intermittent fast because I'm not hungry in the morning. Of course you're not hungry. You ate late at night. You had reflux, so your throat is a little bit burning. You don't have appetite in the morning. So intermittent fasting took off by skipping breakfast because it was the easy thing to do, but it's the wrong thing to do from a longevity perspective.
Yeah. So you're saying go to bed a little bit hungry too. You said that a couple of times. Is there anything related to like portion control and what you're consuming like throughout the window? That
Of course. So in the past, we used to say 1 calorie in, 1 calorie. So it's not perfectly right, but it matters. Obviously, if you eat a lot of calories, you're going to have to play with timing and exercise to burn it. But it's not always. Actually, what we're saying is to prove that 1 calorie in at night is going to be stored. 1 calorie when you're working throughout the day is going to go to the path of utility, right?
Yeah.
Because hormonally, when you sleep, your growth hormone is up. Insulin in the morning are up. So you want to store. During the day, you want to spend. So there's differential use of calories. It's not equal. But of course, you don't want to eat a lot and assume you're gonna lose weight regardless if you do intermittent fasting.
Dave, so wait, before you jump into the other, Dave, thoughts, comments? Because I know this is like, we're getting into the territory that you guys rib me on all the time. Like
you.
Yeah, you guys rib me. It's cool. It's cool about the wearables and I'm the weird sister.
No, I'm going to go look it up, ProLon, because
I should have brought the box. I
Well,
actually have a ProLon at home that I
something
haven't
I'd like
been
to
at home.
try.
Yeah.
So remember, to conclude and simplify, because we're getting to for some people, it sometimes gets confusing. Intermittent fasting is good when done right, which is an early dinner and still have your breakfast. So you're doing that 12 to 14 hours. We call it circadian fast. And there's a lot more to it, meaning the sun is down, you're stopping to eat, you're sleeping well at night. Because when you eat late and you sleep, you don't sleep well.
Right.
You have your nightmare because your body is working while your brain is trying to sleep. We don't realize that. Your body is working, right? There's digestion. You don't feel it because you don't have sensorial nervous system, but it's working. So the brain cannot sleep. So it actually impacts your sleep, impacts your energy the next day. You spend less calories, you exercise less, you pick up more weight. And this is where a lot of intermittent fasters, they end up saying it helped me a little bit because the first 5% is easy to use and then I got stuck. And then I stopped. That's the story of 90% of it.
Yep.
And do it right, it just keeps helping you. So circadian fasting, when the sun is down, have your last meal, get your breakfast. You wake up, believe me, hungry. Everyone tells me, and I used to be that, I wake up, I'm not hungry. This is why you'll be hungry if you don't eat. You'll wake up hungry and you want to eat. And you'll see your body going perfect. It's not just eating, it's sleeping at night. It's like the biology of rejuvenating the organs. Instead of having them work at night, they'll sleep at night, they rejuvenate. And the entire 5 minutes of longevity get it. So 3 times per year for longevity, we do ProLon 3 times only, 5 days, 3 times per year. So it's 5 days. The main goal, why to go 5? It's food, but precisely formulated to keep you in a fasting state, in a true fast, not a ketosis, a true fast. And the goal is to rejuvenate yourself so that you live a healthier and good life. We just published in Nature 6 months ago. Nature is the #1 science journal of the world. We just published an article showing if you do 3 ProLons, you're reversing your bio-age score by 2.5 years. If you do it 3 times per year, every year between age 50 and 70, it's 11 years of bio-age. This is big. We're not promising people they're going to live 11 years, but we're saying we're the age of the cells. You might die from an accident. You might still develop a cancer, but we're saying from an age-correlated health conditions, the 4 big killers, we're giving you a better chance to keep them.
So you used the term true fasting versus fasting, which I always thought fasting was just water or maybe some coffee without anything else in it. So, for a little bit of caffeine. But what is a true fast versus what I'm doing or what I did?
Yeah. So what you do, which is non-ingestion of food, is a true fast. What we do is fasting with food is what we call a physiological fast. So we developed a nutrition formulation that we looked at the cells, at the radars of the cell, how the cell detects food. There are 3 radars sitting on the cell that detects food. We call them nutrient sensing pathway. So we studied them, the PKA, the TOR, and the RAS pathway, and we figured out a formulation that doesn't over-trigger the pathway. So the cell is getting fed without recognizing that's getting fed. This is why it's called a fasting-mimicking diet. Physiological fast, not a true fast. But it's a big discovery. So we have now 134 patents on it and 40 clinical trials. It's a physiological fast.
Gotcha.
But it makes fasting healthy because you don't want to go on a water fast. Why we developed it? Because when we learned that to rejuvenate the cells, you need at least 3 days. Nobody wants to water fast for 3 days. Actually, you can faint, you'll feel weak. So it came out of necessity.
Can't work out very well at the end of the third day.
You cannot go to work.
Yeah.
So this is why it's the U.S. government, it's the taxpayers that actually came to us and USC to develop the fasting. It was out of necessity to help people cross a long fast to benefit the cells without feeling so hungry or so weak.
And by the way, you're not supposed to work out hard when you do ProLon. So that has been a barrier for me in the past to doing it because it's like, no, I'm somewhere and I want to be able to go ride my bike or run or whatever. And I don't want to take 5 days to not, but
you take a week off of exercise while you're doing this? Is that the suggestion?
No, you can do your weightlifting, you can do your Pilates, your yoga, etc. But don't run like a marathon. Like don't over
So I could do my HIIT classes or whatever.
That might be kind of like running a marathon.
It's a little different.
Just think that you're getting half of the calories that you would typically.
Yeah.
So you gotta adjust to that.
I'm not sure if you're doing damage, if are basically undoing what you're trying to do while you're working out too hard.
You're not undoing, but you're getting yourself if you spend a lot of calories, you're taking the risk of hypoglycemia because if you run, if you don't want to overspend and
So
diabetes.
Yeah.
Okay.
L-Nutra Health.
No passing out.
I want to close. You said something. Said for those who cannot pay the $175, maybe the medical program gets reimbursed.
I was just curious.
Yeah, but
It's my hypothesis.
it's one of my biggest fights today. The $175, right? Because we priced it to be neutral. People always think, they go to the website, they go to ProLon Life, they say, okay, should I pay $175 or not? The studies show that the average U.S. citizen spends on food, beverage, and supplement.
Let me be clear.
Over 5
I'm
days.
talking about the Medicaid population. So I'm talking about those that are below the federal poverty level that maybe they're on SNAP, maybe they're on. So there is. I don't want to say they're necessarily food insecure, but they're in that. So
Does the
that's
HSA, HSA cover this, right? Or no?
ProLon?
Yeah.
HSA, FSA, yes.
Yeah. Sorry, I just wanted to clarify that.
But because that's also the perception when people come and buy food from us, ProLon or the others, they're thinking, sometimes they think extra cost. We actually price them to swap the cost of whatever they would buy.
Yeah.
So in the US, when, we're in LA is even more expensive. The average person in LA spends $200 on food and beverage per week.
And what's the new store, Aeron? The new fancy store in LA. Erewhon, yeah.
Yeah, at Erewhon you spend
$1,000 exactly.
Yes.
But
so I'm just trying to say that when somebody goes to buy ProLon, keep in mind that you don't need to buy other foods for the 5 days. It just, instead of going to Whole Foods, paying Whole Foods, whatever you pay for 5 days, and just buy.
It's your meal for the week, basically.
It's a swap of the cost. Now, I'm very passionate to help the Medicaid patients and the poor patients. By the way, even today, if they contact us and they want to have a discount, we do that.
okay.
We're very passionate. Our founder, Professor Walter Longo, that you mentioned, he actually donates 100% of his shares to the Create Cures Foundation. We're a company with a mission. We're not here to just generate profits it's a company driven by MD, PhDs, doctors, and PhDs, and a big mission goal of changing people's lives. So we will not say no, even if I have to give it for free for a patient. I will do that for free for a patient. As a CEO, I'm 100% behind that. What we did with doctors, so we have over 12,000 doctors in the U.S. registered with us. So when a doctor, because mostly Medicaid patients, or unfortunately, the lower the income, the higher correlation of having a health condition.
Absolutely.
So through doctors, we actually, if you go to your doctor and you get a code with ProLon, you're getting the box for $130 to $150, depending on how many go, which is cheaper if you divide that by 15 meals, 5 days, 3 meals a day. It's $5 to $7 a day, which is what even a Medicaid patient would spend on a burger and or on whatever food stamps they give them even for that. But our goal ultimately is reimbursement. So we just launched, you talked about diabetes. We just launched a big program called L-Nutra Health. L is longevity, Nutra, longevity through nutrition, lnutrahealth.com. And the program is called Diabetes Regression and Remission. So it's the 5 days, like ProLon, it's the 5-day fasting-mimicking diet, but we have a dietitian supervision and a doctor supervision. So it's a full program. And what we help people with patients with diabetes or pre-diabetes or blood pressure, any metabolic condition, we help them do 5 days a month over 6 months. And then to maintain the benefits, once a quarter after that.
Okay.
What we're showing, and this is the first time in history of medicine, 2/3 of the patients within 6 months, 2/3 will drop the dose of their medication or will drop a full medication. 2/3. And then we're showing that if on average, it seems every 6 months, when we say 6 months, it's just 5 days a month. We're not talking about change your lifestyle, eat healthy. There's no eat healthy or exercise in between. Nothing, just 5 days a month. And we have 2 trials now. We did another trial for 12 months, and it's showing similar results.
I'm sure.
You're decreasing insulin, you're decreasing blood sugar, you're decreasing HbA1c, and you decrease the need of diabetes. So ACLM, the Association of Lifestyle Medicine, the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, and the Endocrine Society, and the American Dietetic Association, they got together and they created a claim for us called diabetes regression, going backwards, and diabetes remission, meaning you need no more medication. Because diabetes treatment and cure is an FDA-approved pharma claim. Diabetes regression and remission is for programs like ourselves, where we apply nutritional intervention to regress the patient or to take them off medication. We call it regression and remission. And the program is just $250 a month. Again, $250 is not an extra cost. We're swapping your food and we're giving you a dietitian and a physician for only $250. Is taking patients off medication. We just published last week in Value in Health for everyone, listening to us today who works at a hospital or health system or insurance. We just published an article in Value in Health, which is a top health economic journal. It's the official journal of his board, showing that if a payer pays $250 to $350 even per month on the diabetes program, they will break even on month 10. So within the first year, if a hospital, if the health system, if an insurer pays for full and even more than $250 for our program, they will break even on month 10 because their savings on their medication and they're saving on complication. And there's no programs that I know of that you can save costs on a chronic disease within the same year.
So based on all the work that we do in value-based care on a Medicare Advantage population, I would argue that if you are regressing and remitting diabetes from the research we have and the data we have, you would be looking at somebody who's costing let's say it's about $25,000 a year in costs. When that gets remitted, you drop in half. So that's a 4x return. So if somebody's spending, $3,000 a year on your program, but they're saying $12,000 a year in costs, that's a 4x return for that payer that's investing in your program.
Because within the same year, you cannot reverse all the side effects.
No.
It's but after we studied
That's what I'm talking about.
We showed $44,000 ultimate investment, $44,000 on a payer. But a lot of payers say, hey, I had my patient for 2.5 to 4 years. So it was so important to show savings in year one.
Absolutely.
Every insurance, every payer want that on year one. And it's the first time your patient is going backwards rather than forwards. So you're hitting that. Your doctor is so happy. Their patient is getting remit and reverse, and the payer is happy. It's the first time we align all three in America. And we're doing the right thing. It's a metabolic disease. You treat it with the true. Think about it.
The root cause.
It takes me 30 minutes to explain it all the time, and then one sentence summarizes it. Right? You overeat, you age, you become diabetic. How you can reverse the fastest and overeating status? That's why mimicking fasting is the fastest way.
No, it is. It is, and it's a lot less expensive than GLPs. So, anyways, you guys have any questions?
No, I asked mine along the way.
How do I get my hands on some ProLon?
I think you can be helped over here of how you can get your hands on some ProLon.
For everyone who wants to just do it for weight and longevity and cellular rejuvenation, do it 3 times per year. ProLonLife.com. For those that are interested in pre-diabetes, diabetes, or other metabolic condition, L-NutraHealth.com is where you can find the support there.
Outstanding.
Well, thanks for joining us. It was super fun. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right. Take care.
Thank you very much.